Hi guys, so in the previous session I spoke to you guys about mobile technology and its effect on the cultural landscape of a society. Like I mentioned earlier in the fifth module, there's another point, another topic you all need to be aware of, which is video games. Uh, as a part of your assignment, you've already played video games, you've analyzed video games on the levels of using objects and on the levels of characterization within the video games. But theoretically, from a theoretical point of view, when you look at how video games can be analyzed, you have four different points of view. One is the game design, another is the game semiotics, another is the narrative analysis, the same thing that I taught in film studies, and then there's something called the language, right? So, what do you mean by the game design? Basically, how the game has been designed, mostly in terms of the user interface, what kind of user interface, what kind of stuff you see on the user interface, what are the things you can do in terms of the objects that you've been offered, in terms of the characterization that you've been offered, or the assignment that you guys did was on game design, right? So when I'm playing a particular game, say like something like Subway Surfer, how does the game work? The game works on the basis of this kid running and jumping, running through a subway. So that becomes the game design. So this game is on the base. It's a running game, and then you jump on things, win objects, and stuff like that. So the game design part works on that level, right? And then there's something called the game semiotics. That is basically the colors used, the kind of objects that are used. All the theories you've learned in semiotics, you apply in this game, in this particular game, right? So, why are you moving it? So, so game semiotics, you like one interesting paper looked at different game characters and the colors used on those game characters. For example, you look at a character like Kratos in God of War. The character has a red colored theme in order to signify vengeance and anger and all those negative stuff, right? You look at the different colors of cars available in your Need for Speed games. Even those colors have an effect on the player's mind. The color of the skies, the kind of objects in terms of policemen and the sirens, and all of these become signifiers of what has to be the intended signified, right? So that's from the semiotics point of view. Narrative analysis. So every game has some or the other story, right? Even if you're playing a simple game such as Angry Birds, a bird is supposed to be angry. How do we know that the birds are angry? Because of the name of the title of the game itself, right? So when you look at the whole gameplay from the way it begins till the way it ends, every game starts and every game has an end. And unless you take a game like Shadow Fight, which is a never-ending game, but every game ends in a certain part and starts with another, right? So exactly like that. How does a game begin? What is the starting point, and what is your state as a player in the game, and what happens to you? So you become the protagonist, right? You play the role of a protagonist whose story keeps changing, and there are multiple protagonists in terms of multiple characters, and you choose multiple narratives. So the whole concept of narrative analysis I taught you in the previous sessions apply the same thing to gaming analysis, which was taught to you in the context of films, right? Film studies has a narrative analysis. And language, how easy is it for you to understand the language used in the game? Let me just randomly pick a game from my phone right now and see what kind of language is used, just to make you guys understand how language differs from one game to another, right? So this game is called Smash Hit. The first thing I see here is mediocre, and that's my dog's ass. So there are three things: menu, restart, and resume here. So let's say I clicked on resume. Okay, there's not much to see. So I go back to my menu. Then I have more stuff here in terms of new from mediocre. Classic is the language used. So there's stuff like Zen, training versus classic, mayhem, co-op. All of this comes under the context of language. You can also see these words also have some sort of a significance. How do I go back? Classic, boss challenge, endless meditation mode, reduced difficulty mode, competitive mode, cooperative mode. All of these things fall under the category of uh, language. So these four things form the primary analysis of a game, primary point of view of analysis, right? And then there is a secondary level, which is more from the socio-cultural level of analysis. So for example, you look at alternative reality and how alternative reality works within the gaming arena. You look at stuff like real world violence, how much violence has the game caused within the society. For example, one killer example that I can think of is in Japan, two kids were gaming on these gaming consoles right next to each other. They were intensely involved in the game. So this guy killed the other guy in the game, right? So they were playing those LAN games where you connect with each other and play on your own systems. One player killed another player. This guy got so angry that in his real life he chopped this guy's head off. He stabbed him, and I'm exaggerating, but he stabbed him and he killed him because he got killed in the game. So how much of an effect the games have? To go back to the concept of catharsis and talk about that. There are a lot of lab experiments with respect to game and with respect to effects of game in terms of violence, effects of games in terms of emotions, effects of games in terms of perception of success, perception of the world, etc. Right? So basically, these things form the groundwork of how to understand a video game. So with that, I think I'll end the lecture. If you have any doubts, please put them on the comments, or you can just call me directly or send me a message on WhatsApp, and I will clarify. Thank you.